series of Mentor My Board. So today we have with us Jyoti Shiralee, whom we are featuring under this section of Member Spotlight. But just before I introduce Jyoti, uh, I would like to share with you that we are coming up with celebrating a governance week. Now, what happens in this governance week? From 15th of February till 21st of February, we would have panel discussions, we would have fireside chat between the best of the industry mentors. They would come on the platform, share their knowledge, insights from their experiences, speak about the corporate governance and the evolving structures of governance in the Indian economy today. So make sure you're attending it. We will definitely share the link in the description box below when this session goes, on the various channels. So do join in for the governance week with Mentor My Board, and we would be happy to host you there. Happy learning for each one of you who has joined in today. Let me introduce our member today, Jyoti Shiralee, who is under the spotlight, and this spotlight series is specially to enhance and show the world about the special journey our members have had in the past and how is it that they are making a difference to the Indian economy today. So Jyoti is a business leader with over 20 years of experience in business consulting, strategy, and marketing and commercial operations, which she has handled across various sectors. She is a leader through the strategic interventions, business expansion, and development initiatives, constantly delivering business results. And we welcome you, Jyoti, in this Member Spotlight series. And we would love to know from you your journey, your past experiences, and how is it helping you today to be a better a business contributor, I would say.
Thank you, Neha. Wonderful to be here. If I have to describe my journey of more than 20, actually it's 25 years,
Wow.
I'd like to sum it up a little briefly. My story can essentially be summed up in, maybe just three chapters, which I'd like to elaborate. So,
One.
chapter one. So, chapter one was where I started my career
Hmm.
with the Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, as
Hmm.
everybody would know, which is the representative body for the industry. And
Right.
it's also the advocacy group. So, they essentially collaborate with the government to kind of push and shape agenda on
Hmm.
behalf of the industry with the government.
True.
So a good 5 6 years there helped me to get that macro perspective, because there you're basically looking at industry specific challenges,
Right.
sector specific challenges. It's more to do with industry and the economy as a whole rather than just companies.
True.
So that was chapter one. And chapter two was essentially my stint with the industry, where I spent more than 15 years. I have kind of worked in senior leadership roles across sectors,
Hmm.
whether it is B2B, it is B2C, handled multiple roles as well, be it operations, branding, and marketing. Some of the organizations that I've kind of worked with were Abbott, Zydus, then Wokhart, Dabur, etc. So, Neha, these organizations, I just so happened that I was probably lucky enough to be there at the right place at the right time, which is very important.
Which is
They
very
kind of
totally.
helped me to, uh, you know, uh, launch and nurture brands which actually change the way you look at categories, change the way you look at markets, and change the way you do a business. How does your business model change? So,
True.
in that sense, it was a very, very exciting time that I had. And so many of these brands, I guess I can talk about it as we go along. But to put it in perspective, each one of these stints
Hmm.
essentially, they helped. For example, many of the brands were fledgling brands, What I was kind of by being at the right place at the right time, what I was able to do is uh, reposition them completely, take a complete relook at the way you need to relaunch these brands and target them at the right consumer.
True.
And I think my biggest learning from my the 15 odd years where I've worked on several brands was how these brands help to change uh, customer habits, lifestyles, and I think that is the true test of a brand. The
Hmm.
other thing is, in today's age, it's easy to launch brands. Um, you can sometimes get success immediately, but I think a brand to be truly successful has to stand the test of time,
True.
and even 3 or 4 years is not enough. So,
Right.
many of these brands, therefore, which I kind of handled about maybe 12, 13 years back,
Hmm.
even today, they are all growing, and each one of them is possible. Many of them would be 500 crore plus brands. So they've
Right.
changed the way, they've created new categories, completely new set of benefits which were not catered to at a particular point in time. So that was my chapter two that I call. Uh, and chapter three, which is currently where I am today, is where I've kind of taken my learnings from my industry stints. I've started my own consulting business. I call it Chrysalis Consulting. And broadly, what I try to do is, I believe that change is something that all of us, whether we are in industry or individually, is something that is non-negotiable, and you need to be comfortable with change. And that is something that I kind of try to that I've made it the cornerstone of my entire consulting business. And today I'm focusing more on the SME sector. This is a sector which has truly opened up post COVID. Before COVID and even during COVID, the startup sector, they were the poster boys. They still are, and they have some fantastic growth stories.
True.
The SME was always the poor cousins, so to speak. I mean, and not in so many words. I mean, not to, I mean, there are so many companies which are possibly doing well, but you don't know much about them. So that is the sector that I'm kind of focusing on. And essentially, I'm helping them to um, kind of be comfortable with change and, figure out how to set a growth agenda in today's very, very disruptive age. So that is in a nutshell what I'm doing currently.
Wonderful. We've known about the work experience in the past a little and what you're doing currently, but we would really love to know you as a person as well. So please tell us something about you as a person in the past and today.
Well,
Before I go ahead and speak to you about
sure.
the brands, yes.
How do I kind of describe myself? I don't know. I think there are some things which I kind of believe in. One is that, there was this wonderful line which I felt always applies to me, which is lage raho. So, you kind of have to keep going, because
True.
ultimately, uh, ideas is what essentially helps you to in whatever sphere that you are. But then these ideas is they're not cast in stone, and
Hmm.
ideas have to keep evolving. And as and when you evolve, I think becoming a lifelong learner, upskilling yourself is something that I truly believe in, and I guess that's what keeps me going.
Wonderful, wonderful. In fact, you mentioned about brands, brand building, so on and so forth. So I would love to know what is the importance of building a brand? What is it that takes to build a brand?
So, well, I think brands, in my personal experience, are
Hmm.
integral to any company's growth story. Because whether it's a product brand or it's a corporate brand,
Hmm.
that's a very integral part of any company's growth story. You cannot build a strong business without having a strong basket of brands, whether it is products, whether it is services, or whether it is your corporate identity, depending on how large the organization is. So, and brand is often misunderstood by a lot of people in terms of being, uh, you know, they look at it a little superficially. It is more about advertising and, branding, being visible, smart one-liners. No, actually, brand building is very, very serious business, because, any brand essentially is a sum of the functional attributes as well as the emotional attributes for any, whether it's a product or whether it's a service, and it's essentially a summation of that. So you can in today's competitive world, it's very, very difficult to have uh, brands which are, there's so many brands which are me too, but it is the emotional attributes, it is how the customer connects with the brand, how memorable is the brand, how does a brand become a part of your life. I think that is what truly distinguishes what a brand is.
So important. True. You have to live the brand, and
Correct.
that is what makes a difference.
So that's what I've kind of always believed in. And so, I mean, to answer your question now, I think some of the brands that I kind of got an opportunity to work on, I'd love to talk about them depending on how you want to frame your next question. Is let me give you an example,
Yeah,
of
sure.
a brand like, let's say, a sugar free, for example. I'll give you two. I have launched more than five, six brands, but for the paucity of time, we'll stick to two. So, Sugar Free was a brand which actually changed lifestyles and habits. So, it was a brand at one point in time nobody wanted to touch. Neither the doctors wanted it. There was a stigma associated with diabetes. It was seen as a diabetic pill. Customers, of course, didn't want to touch it. So, therefore, when I was with Zydus, there was this huge dilemma that we faced: that what do we deal with? What do we do with this brand? Do we just keep it on a back burner? Do we just kind of, does the brand just exist, go through the distribution mode? So that is when we kind of got together. And what we figured out is that it's important whom are you competing with, and how they kind of repositioned the brand was, without it being seen as a product for diabetes, or we actually positioned it as a healthier alternative to sugar. So sugar became the competition that we were trying to compete with,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
because sugar gives you empty calories. Sugar free gives you, it's a healthy alternative because it is zero calories, and that's how you save calories. And controlling calories is the key to fitness. So in many ways, this brand Sugar Free started the sugar free revolution, which is what you see today. It happened over a period of 10 to 15 years, but the
True.
seeds were sown then. And we got this brand, and today this brand is just used by diabetics. It is used by any health conscious person who wants
Right.
to control his or her calories and wants to stay fit. So, and it's not just about, even if you don't want to consume sugar, that's fine. But sugar free has, multiple meanings, multiple interpretations. It's
True.
basically, at a macro level, it tells you shun sugar. At a micro level, it tells you if you can't shun sugar, please have sugar, because it's far more healthier than sugar. So,
Right, right, right. So I totally agree when you say that, the seeds are sown much earlier and the fruits of those brand building are seen much more later. But
correct,
then definitely it is kind of a thing that, you need to invest with patience when you want
absolutely,
to build a bigger brand.
absolutely,
So I totally agree. And I can totally resonate it when we started Mentor My Board as an initiative earlier. So 6 years down the line, now we are today we see that we have been able to create a difference in what we are doing. So since you are a womb mentee as well, and the womb program, the Women on Management and Boards program,
yeah,
after it had been launched by our honorable FM, it kind of saw a different perspective altogether, and that visibility has come in in a different
absolutely.
way altogether. I would love if you can share something with that respect. Please share your journey of womb, and how has it helped you in your current role as a director.
Sure. So, I think. when I kind of, if you remember, Neha, this you had given us multiple topics, and the topic that I had chosen was ESG. And that subject was very dear to me because for two
Right.
reasons. I felt that, and since in my consulting sphere, my focus is on SME, amongst other things, but my special area of interest is SME. I felt that ESG is equally, if not more important for the SME sector, because some of the biggest challenges that the sector faces today, uh, is it I mean, it's in terms of not being able to change the processes that they are undergoing. For example, there is a statistic which I think it's fairly correct, which is that about 28% of the carbon emissions come from industry, and therefore that's where the E part of SNG becomes important. Now, if 28% is the industry average, you can well imagine that the small scale sector's contribution to that 28 would be much more. That's an
True.
industry average because
True.
typically small scale sector, they face so many challenges and they're constantly grappling with nuts and bolts issues, whether it is finance, whether it is outstanding credit, धंधा कहाँ से आएगा, the month has gone by, we haven't achieved. So when you have these multiple things, you always tend to push these very important but very integral to the growth of the company on the back burner. And
Very
I wanted to do, why I chose ESG as my subject is I thought that's one area that I'd like to focus on, because I believe that it has to be seen as part of the larger corporate strategy for any company. So today, whether if you want to build your business, and that's where I think the Boom program truly helped me in terms of understanding getting the right perspective, as well as having those special sessions that we had with ESG experts, which actually truly was a learning experience for me. And I intend to take this forward with the customers that I have an interface with.
wonderful. So being a director of your own company, and it's into consulting business, right?
Yeah,
So what is it that is a change or the mindset shift that you have seen or in the businesses around you today? And what is it that you actually advise them?
well, consulting is actually not a very easy business because, you have to sell your idea. Ultimately, you are in the business of selling ideas to any company. And and it had better be a radical idea. Otherwise, you are not
True.
even going to be called to pitch for the business. Now, selling radical ideas is not easy. Because there are several mindset issues which many a times companies, and whether it's small or big, I'm making a very generic statement because uh, you know uh, typically companies feel that what they're doing is actually fine. It's not easy for them to uh, buy an idea which says you need to change your business model, or you need to you're not looking at the right customer segment, or whether the product that they have, which is maybe doing well today, but 5 years down the line it may not be relevant. Now these are ideas which are not easy to sell, but
Hmm.
as a consultant it becomes important for us to bring in that outside in perspective, and
True.
that is where my role, my industry stints have helped me, because I've been there and done that.
Hmm.
So because many a times, in the name of consulting, what happens is a lot of kite flying. It's very easy to make, a deck make presentation, come out with very fanciful ideas. कि 10 साल बाद आप यहाँ जा सकते हो, 5 साल बाद. But at the end of the day, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And if somebody has been there and done that, I believe that that is what helps me to build my credibility. Because in industry, you have to be out in the trenches. If you haven't been out in the trenches and delivered, then you haven't built a brand or made a business. Because it's a tough job. I mean, it's not always, even when you launch brands and you're on the right track, so many things can go wrong. So, so what I bring, therefore, to the table with my consulting clients is that I've been there and done that. You have to trust me. Trust my experience. So that is one very important thing. And the other thing is for small scale businesses, the very most important story that you need to sell them is that all big businesses start small. You have to start small. And therefore, you have to think big and get disruptive. You can't constantly remain small, you know.
Very true. Very
And that is where value creation becomes very important. Uh,
right.
that is the core idea that I basically the proposition that I sell. How do you create? How do you build value and scale a business? Because I've been there and done that. And therefore I try to kind of convince them that look, this is possibly a way that things can work. But
Wow.
ultimately, it's a lot to do with discussions, negotiation, a lot of push and pull, which
Right, right.
happens.
So true. So you also mentioned that it is the need of an hour that you need to change constantly, and changing continuously means innovating yourself, innovating the business idea that you have, and innovation in all terms. I mean, 360-degree innovation is what we are talking and seeing in today's world or today's economy at present, right? So you have been very passionate about the culture of innovation. Tell us something about that aspect. How do you see today's young entrepreneurs being innovative in the ways they come forward?
Well, the way I would define innovation is it's many a times it's seen as being synonymous with some technological disruption that you bring. Sure, that is a very important aspect of innovation, but I look at it far more holistically. That every time it is not possible to have a very unique USP that you bring into your product. So innovation has can be
Right.
interpreted in multiple ways. It depends on how you want to, which is the market you want to look at, how do you define your customer, what is the messaging that you, so you can be innovative in everything that you do. So my view on innovation is always that you have to make it a very, very holistic proposition. Uh, which is what is going to kind of see you through in any business. And then talking about companies, well, there are many. I would like to, uh, if you look at the startup sector, for example, today, for example, uh, we have moved from traditional brands to digital brands, right? So many of the new brands that are getting launched today, they're all launched on the digital platform. They may
True.
eventually, they may eventually go take up mass communications, etc. But it is in the digital uh, uh, sphere that they've made their mark,
Absolutely.
and therefore today marketing has acquired a completely new dimension. So today we talk about the T-shaped marketing. T-shaped.
Wow, that's something new. Can you just
Yeah.
share something more about
So
this?
that is another example of innovation in the way you think about how you market your products. So the fundamentals of marketing don't change in the T-shaped marketing, because ultimately, what is your product? What is your promise? What is your value proposition? Whom are you talking to? What is it that you're saying? All these are fundamentals. They can never change. What can change is your medium of communication in the digital age. Today, you have AI, which is contributing to content. What are the digital tools that you are using? So, these are the areas which will constantly keep changing, but the fundamentals will not change. And talking about brands, I could name so many of them, but let me quote a few which immediately come to my mind, which I thought have done a phenomenal job in terms of innovation. So you have Urban Company, which is kind of offering a host of services on your doorstep. So today, whether it is looking for a carpenter, somebody to, I mean, there are multiple jobs that, for which you would possibly be looking at several vendors
Right, right.
across various service sectors. Today, those guys offer it to you at a fantastic. I mean, and the way it is handled, it's completely online. So
True.
that is one, and there are so many
Zebra,
others.
For example,
Zero is there. Zerodha is there.
Zerodha, yes.
Zero is a fantastic example of Healthify Me
Yes,
in the area of fitness. So they
yes,
have done a phenomenal job. Today, Licious is another example. Licious, which sells meats uh,
yes.
and clean. You trust it immediately. You don't have to rush to your kirana or wherever to go and buy it. So everything today, which is all these brands are delivering it to you at home. You look at in a skincare category wherein you have the L'Oreal's, the Lakme's of the world. You have a brand called Wow Life Sciences, which is doing extremely well. You look at Mama Earth. Mama Earth is a fantastic success story, which is today a 1500 crore brand,
Very true, very
very
true.
first brand. So all these are actually examples of they're not selling anything very different. They're selling the same skincare products, but how have they innovated in terms of what is it that they offer, how do they deliver, what is the experience, So it's a package actually.
Very true. Absolutely. In fact, you've just touched a very important point that, it is not important that you change or, you go out of the way, but then just a change of messaging, just a little change in the, reflections that you have, that brings a very wide audience to you, gets attracted to you. So
Absolutely.
totally agree to you. And let's speak about a little about leadership and diversity in leadership. So what is your thoughts on it, and how have you seen diversity in leadership taking the forefront now?
I think it's finally come into the boardrooms. Better late than never. But I think large company. But yes, today it is a talking point because of DEI having taken off. It's become a part of the ESG agenda. So there are very clearly boxes which you need to tick. But I think we need to go beyond that. We need to look at it qualitatively. I think diversity is something most organized. I mean, if diversity didn't wasn't there, I wouldn't be where I am today. So it's not that DEI is something new; it was always there. But what's good is today it has become a non-negotiable. Today it's become a very important part for this, the senior leadership to kind of look at as to how do you. And it's not just about diversity. Ultimately, diversity, what it brings to the table in terms of, diversity in terms of workforce, in terms of ideas. I think it's that's where I think we've kind of made. Although you hear on and off about it not being trivialized at times, I think we need to rise above that and look at it at a much larger perspective. But talking about diversity, I think there are lots of areas where there is a huge scope. One is if you look at factories. Today, there is very clearly a government directive that you need to have creches in companies who employ more than 100 or 200. I think I'm forgetting the number.
True.
But how many companies actually do it, excepting the large ones? And until and one one reason why women face a challenge after marriage and childbirth is, how do they kind of, adjust their responsibilities, their personal responsibilities, which is very dear to them, and at the same time pursuing the career without really ensuring a break. And I
Right.
think that is where many of the important do's and don'ts are actually not followed by the industry across. But I think this is where there is a lot of scope. I feel that large organizations, for example, they should have a creche. It goes without saying. It's so very important to get the mother back where she belongs. I mean, at the workspace after that. What I think 24 weeks is what you get today. So if you don't have the creche, that is one short reason why there could be a break in her career. Could be. So that is one area where I feel DEI could do much more.
Perfect. In fact, I was at a Mercedes plant last month, and I was speaking to one of the salesperson out there who is a woman, and she mentioned that we have a very strong workforce in sales who are women. And this was only possible, and also in the leadership roles, and it was only possible because they made available a crash just inside the plant, near to the very near to the plant. And moms could have their babies there, keep them, stay relaxed, and focus on the work. So it was like kind of a eye opener that it's so important that women have that kind of support system around them, so that
Correct.
they do not have to leave those career times when it is time for them to
Absolutely.
grow in that
And in
role.
fact, Neha, I remember during one of our discussions, somebody telling me, I think it was Captain uh,
Tapas.
Tapas. So he told me, why do you look at creches only for women? Why
Right.
can't men also bring their children and leave them there at the creche if they want to? And I thought that's a
True.
wonderful thought. Why just keep it, just make it so woman centric? It's so very
So
important. So I just thought, I just remembered that and I wanted to share that with you.
right. In fact, Indra Nooyi also mentions about this. She always speaks that women need to have that kind of support system with them,
Correct.
because their professional clock and their biological clock, in terms of their growth in the married life, always has a clash. And that is
Always.
where most of the women drop out from the workforce
Yes.
as well. So they do not reach the senior management roles only because they have
Spend for,
either
yes,
elderly parents to take care of at home, or the kids who are growing at that age and they
absolutely.
need them the most. So truly agree to what you're saying, and I could actually resonate and remember how
Yeah.
Indra Nooyi ma'am relates to it. Wonderful. So I think it was a wonderful session, and just before closing, you can share your key mantras of success with all the audience who is hearing you today.
Well, key mantra is one, believe in yourself, be a constant learner, and never give up. I think I would like to keep it simple because
Super.
easier said than
So it's crisp and clear, but wonderful speaking to you, Jyoti, and
thank you,
look
Neha.
forward for many more such interactions.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jyoti.
Bye.
See you.
Thanks.